Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this Wednesday, the 3rd of March, 2021. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you guys here. Now, let's get started. Let's open up the charts right here and take a look at what's going on. Last night, I was staying up and I was watching the news, and I heard this report come in. See this little vehicle? It's not a big vehicle. It's a small vehicle. It got hit by a semi-truck. Well, that happens. I mean, you hear about that in the news a lot. But you know what really bizarre, really bizarre? They said there was 25 people inside that little car. It looks like a Ford. But think about that for a minute. Some of these vehicles, and this one's probably one of them, they'll have like 3-row seating, you know? So you got your front driver's seat, passenger seat, and you got a seat behind that and one more seat behind that. So that would be 6 people. And that's a fully loaded vehicle. Well, if you sat a person on everybody's lap, you'd only have 12 people. 25 people. What in the hell were they thinking? How do you even get 25 people inside a vehicle like that? What on earth is going on there with that? I just don't get it. That's the most bizarre accident I've ever heard. And then it smashes into a semi-truck. I'm telling you, the world's gone crazy, absolutely crazy. Let's get in there and take a look at the markets today. Let's take a look at the silver price. I was just shocked by that last night when I seen that. They said there's 25 people inside that vehicle. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I remember back in the 1950s or something, they used to have a contest. People used to try to get inside a Volkswagen. A little bug, Volkswagen bug. See how many they could get inside a Volkswagen bug. It must have been something similar like that. It's just totally bizarre. In those cars, they have 3rd-row seating, They have seating for 6 in some of those SUVs. But there's only seat belts for the 6 people. So if they had 25 in there, it means that, was it 19? If I'm figuring it right, 19 people couldn't have had seat belts on because they only have seat belts for 6 people. Ah, my goodness, it must have been teenagers or something. Adults wouldn't do something like that, I don't think. Anyway, 26.15 for silver today. It's down 61 cents. I'm going to tell you something about this. They keep using those paper short contracts to drive the price down on silver, And I don't think this drop in price has been an exception. They're scaring away investors. Investors are wondering how long will this paper thing keep going. The thing is it's going to keep going until the inflation becomes obvious to everyone out there. And then they're not going to be able to control these prices anymore. I'm thinking that that's going to happen. It's going to take time. Because, see, a lot of people in the investment community are divided on this issue now. There's a lot of people out there think that the system's going to deflate. It's going to take time for them to slowly come around and change their mind and realize that it's not going to be deflation. That's probably going to be the rest of this year. They're probably going to still be able to manipulate these prices using these paper short contracts. But when it's totally obvious to everyone out there that it's going to be inflation, then we're going to see the real mania come into the crypto markets and the gold and silver market. We're going to see the price go up. I'm thinking the end of this year. I think they're going to be able to run it right through and keep the price suppressed. And they're getting silver. They're having to go into their 1,000-ounce bar inventories, to satisfy demand. But they're doing it. They're getting enough. It must be taking an awful chunk of it. I'm going to tell you guys, it must be taking an awful big chunk of their silver to keep up and supply bar and coin demand right now. It's the last days of this manipulation is what we're going through. And, for people who are holders of gold and silver, it's it's been a long, wearying. You're gonna get satisfied in the end with this, but it's gonna be it's a long drug out process, and it might continue for the rest of this year. It might not be until 2022 before we really see silver and gold break free of this. And for people out there that invested in gold and silver, this has been really a long haul. I'm going to tell you, a long haul. 26.15 for silver today. Gold, 17.11 for gold. It's down $27 again today. Cryptocurrency, though, it's not seeing this manipulation, or not near to the extent that gold and silver is. And crypto now today it's starting to move up again. It's 1550 right now. It's billions. It's 1.55 trillion. And we're looking at a cryptocurrency price on Bitcoin of over 50,000 again, 50,901. Investors, they're not so hesitant because the manipulation is not going on to the extent it is in the paper silver market, paper gold market. Now we're going to move on and take a look at the Dow Jones today. It's up 60 points, or 1%, no, 1.77% on the Dow. Let's take a look at oil. Crude oil is $60.73. It's up 98 cents, or 1.64%. Now we're going to check the MOVE index. The MOVE index is 5770. It's come down 11 points. Now that's a big drop in the MOVE index. That means that the credit markets are starting to stabilize again. The Fed did something, and it affected the bond market and the credit markets. They did something. They've corrected something in the system. I have faith that the Fed is not going to let the ball drop, ultimately. I think they're stepping in behind the scenes more and more, not announcing it, what they're doing. I think they're just doing it. They're keeping the system stable. They're not going to let the system roll over. And to keep the system stable in that way is going to create inflation. There's no ways around it. I mean, instability will create deflation, and stability in the system will create inflation. But ultimately, that inflation is going to get away from them, and that's going to create a tremendous instability called hyperinflation, ultimately. And once that really gets rolling, it's not really rolling yet, but once it really gets rolling, they're not going to be able to slow it down. I know Paul Volcker was able to stop in the past, was able to stop inflation by raising interest rates up to like 20%, but it took more than one try. It just didn't happen overnight. It just didn't raise interest rates to 20% and inflation vanished. That wasn't the way it worked. They had to come in with a series of raising the interest rate up high, and each time it slowly pushed the inflation monster back down. But it was not easy. Once that gets started, they can't raise interest rates to 20% anymore. Bonds and rates today. We're looking at bond yields rising again. We're looking at 5.2 basis points on the U.S. 30-year. It's at 2.26. And we're looking at the 10-year at 1.48. And it's up 6.7 basis points. I'll tell you what I think. I think that 10-year is the most important on the long end of the yield curve to the Federal Reserve. And I think they've probably put a marker in it. I mean, if I was running the Federal Reserve, I would say I'm going to put a marker in at 2% on the U.S. 10-year. And if it crosses that line, yield curve control. That's what I would do if I was Fed chairman, And so I'm thinking that that's maybe what they've done. Maybe they're putting a marker in at 2% and saying, hey, if it crosses that line in the sand, yield curve control. I don't know. I think they probably have a marker in. Maybe it's at 1.75. I don't know where the marker is. A 2% seems to me to be, maybe that's the marker. It's because that's an even number, and that's what I'm thinking. Anyway, let's move on and take a look at the dollar index today, 91.02, and it's going up. The dollar's going up today. Going up quite steeply, too, Anyway, listen, guys. Have a great rest of the day. Like and subscribe. Remember, hit that notification buzzer on my channel. Love all your comments. You're doing a great job. Continue commenting. I just love that. You know, I try to read all the comments. I especially try to focus in on questions you guys might have. You know, if you got a question about something, I'll try to answer it. And we'll catch you guys in the next show. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.